Okay guys, this is part 2. What if Deku or Midoriya was the daughter of Goku? Part 2. So y'all have, one of you have decided I'm going to be making Midoriya the half Saiyan, like I said, Legendary Super Saiyan now. For now, I'll say All Might didn't pick as successor since people haven't voted on it. So let's just say he's holding on to one for all for now. So his time limit won't drain like it did with Midoriya. So, like I said, we'll continue the story. We'll be doing the USJ and probably, wait a minute, and probably the forest, the sports festival, yeah. So, Midoriya would, she would go home, she would train, she, would, I'm gonna say since she is, wait a minute, sorry guys, like I said, Midoriya would lose the Akari state trying to master it, and she would try stacking it on top of Super Saiyan. Now, she still can, if she's really angry, become the legendary Super Saiyan state. So that's my family talking. So we'll go to the USJ. They went to the USJ, and 13 was to talk about, your quirks can be very dangerous if you don't know how to use it properly. It could basically cause a disaster like tornado, hurricane, etc. While she's explaining, now All Might would, he would be there. Basically, he would be there earlier, but he would still wait a while for his time limit. Basically, because he was doing heroing, he still has some time left, and he's just saving it up for about the end of the class for All Might to come in and do it. So, like I said, 13 would be there, and it's all like in canon. She would explain what I just said, and then a portal will open, and it's like, oh, we're going to be fighting fake villains. And as always, like, also Midoriya said, I don't think those are real villains. I don't think those are fake villains. And out would come Shigaraki, the Nomu, and wait a minute, what's the portal guy name? Okay, his name is Koragiri. Koragiri would explain. Sorry, my voice it may not be loud. My family's, inside the house. I'm trying to be quiet. So, it would be, I can't say his name correctly, it's Koragiri. He would come out, and basically, with the Nomus, Midoriya would go. Her eyes would turn yellow, she would buff up. She wouldn't be that buff, like Broly. She would probably be around this buff around her body when she's in the Akari state. She would try it off because it's basically the Akari form. Now, basically, since she's a legendary Super Saiyan, every fight she gets, she's getting stronger, basically. Like Broly, when he's fighting Goku and Vegeta, he just would slowly get stronger and stronger. She would fight him as the Akari form, and basically she would go through Kurogiri. They would be teleported, and I'll say for canon, everyone's in the same place. So Midoriya is with Froppy and Mineta. And she would first go into the water, but she would fly up, and she would go and grab Mineta. Now Mineta would be pervy because she's a girl. She would be like, boobies. Basically, Mineta's the pervert. Like, he's by Hiroshi. They're so big and round. That's basically what Mineta would do. Well, Midoriya would slap him when they get landed on the ship, and would tell him, like, cut it out. It ain't the time to be a pervert. We may die. And he was like, I'll try. So Midoriya would explain that she could just fly them out of there. Now, they would say that's a good idea, but what about the villains? She says, I got this for her. She would fly up, and she would she would be in her base state, and she would use I'll say she learned the Maseko from Piccolo and Gohan, and some Piccolo's attacks. I'll say that she would use a Kamehameha and just blast the water, kind of like what baby Gohan did to Piccolo and GT, and would basically make them where they're all out of the water. The water is basically like basically a cross, and they would fly. She would grab them and fly them out of there. He would go back and help with Mr. Ozawa because the Nomu's basically hurting him, torturing him. Basically, I would say she learned the instant transmission, everything. She would instant transmission there and kick. It wouldn't kick him, but she would punch the Nomu, and it would go a little bit back, and the Nomu wouldn't be really phased. She would turn into she would use the Akari form, buff up, try to fight him, it still wouldn't work, and she would get angry, and she would start to lose control of her power, because also when she's really angry, she would start to lose control. Her hair would start turning, she would turn Super Saiyan, and her hair would start turning green, and her eyes, pupils would disappear, and she would basically go on berserk, basically non-stop trying to kill the Nomu, or anyone that comes near her. She would be basically like the energy that Broly did to Goku Blue would shoot out of her body. Basically, the Nomu would fight her, and her enemy basically from her mind is to kill the Nomu. She would basically hurt the Nomu. Ida would go and get All Might. All Might would come and see what's going on, and he would be like, I have to calm young Midoriya down. He would go and tell her to calm down. She would somewhat get calm, because of Ozawa, I'll say she would get a hole through the Nomu with him using his eraser quirk. She would basically punch through the Nomu, but it would still regenerate, and it's basically, she can beat it. It's just the regeneration is her downfall. She would eventually run out of energy because she's basically losing all of her energy. Now, it's not say she could kill it, but because of the regeneration quirk, now I'd say he has better regeneration because of All Might not giving his quirk away yet. Means he would be stronger and have more of a time limit. And I would say she would power it off and go and get, basically All Might would calm her down. He would be really angry, and he would fight the Nomu like in canon. He would do a lot better. I don't think the steam would happen, but he wouldn't power down because he still has one for all. And I think it would be better the time limit, because the time limit slowly is going down because of him giving it away. So he's better. He's fighting the Nomu better than in canon. Midoriya would go and but she would go and help Mr. Ozawa out. And 13, she would go and get all the, she would go and save all the children, the students. She would help fight. I'll say like the other villains. Like she would go. I'll say she would go super. I said she would just fight them in her base state, and basically instead of them all escaping, she would easily knock them all down. Now she wouldn't know exactly how what's his name's quirk is, Shidaraki's quirk would be. But, I'll say she saw him trying to, do what he was trying to do to, Froppy. And, yeah, All Might would beat him. He would beat Power. I'll say he would be fuming. And, he basically would be, smoke would come out of him, basically. And this would be the end of the, God dang it, USJ. So I think the next one would be yeah, they would go home that day because of the villain. The next day, I think it's the week. We'll just skip to that. She would come in, and I would say she would get this scar right here that she did from fighting, the Nomu. Now, it's not really, it wouldn't hurt her, but, she would fight the Nomu. Like I said, Mr. Zaw would come in, he would be damaged, he would have bandages. Now, I think his quirk wouldn't be damaged because of Midoriya helping him. And I would say he would thank her. And, he would explain that you better be training because of the sports festival. And it's a real way to be a true hero. Now, yeah. And I'll skip to where they are entering, and since Midoriya got first place, she gets to basically speak, and she would say that I hope all of us can, through she would basically say, I hope we all can have a real great fight, and show how true heroes we are, and show how far we have come. So basically, Class 1B wouldn't be really enemies. But, yeah, she would go. Now, I would say that, they would do the race, basically. And she would just power up into her great ape power with the speed. Yeah. She would basically fly. She would blow up the bombs. Just key blast the bombs with a big bang attack. And, basically everyone got froze but Bakugo, Todoroki, and Midoriya. Midoriya would basically lose engine transmission, get to basically right behind Bakugo. Say she would basically hop up on him and jump and fly to the first place. So she would get the 10 million points, and everyone will look at her like they're about to kill her. And she would be kind of paranoid. She was like, what did I do wrong? First place, the second, third place is the same. First place is Midoriya, like in canon and everything. I would say that people would want to pick Midoriya because of her incredible power. Yeah. She would pick, Uraraka would still be on their team. And I would say, what's her name? About her toys. From the sport class, I say her, and she would pick, Midoriya would pick, Midoriya would pick, Uraraka and that girl. Midoriya would give her the point, basically the headband, and she would, she would go into Super Saiyan just to be able to, handle more power. Yeah, she'll go into Super Saiyan, and she would basically piggyback right on top of her, and and they would basically just fly, and if anyone comes near, Midoriya can just use a ki blast, or I would say she can learn how to do a ki barrier thing, basically kind of like what Cell could do. She would power up, kind of like a final atonement, a final explosion, that type of aura, and basically make her ki a shield. Yeah, she would just hold it, and basically they would win that way. Just from them, basically they're in a bubble. Midoriya would just fly, and they would win for a timeout. So they would go down, and basically they would be in first place, Midoriya. So the people that would enter would be the same, like I said. But now Bakugo, I think, would train more. Yeah. We're going to go to the first, basically player versus player. Midoriya would fight everyone in canon. Now we'll start with the mind control guy. I forgot his name. I'll just call. I'll look it up in a minute. Wait a minute, guys. Midoriya would fight Shinso, and Shinso would basically, Midoriya would know about her quirk, his quirk and everything. He would talk about why it's sad that someone has a villainous quirk like me, but a young, beautiful woman like you has a strong and powerful quirk. That ain't fair. Like, everyone thinks you're powerful, and they don't care about my quirk. It's villain quirk. Midoriya would explain that it doesn't matter what quirk you have, you can still be a hero. Then her eyes would, basically do that, and he would basically like walk off the stage. She would start to walk, but I'll say what she would do is her hair would start to glow. She's basically trying to fight the control. Since she doesn't have one for all, she just has to rely on her own power. So what she would do is basically start powering up. First she would power up in Super Saiyan. It would stop, she's slowly walking. She would go to Super Saiyan 2. She would eventually go God. And then she would basically power up the form and go. I'll say that she would go into God and then believe for a second, break the control, and she would basically fall on her knees and start. Nice try, Shinso. And Shinso would be like, what? Midoriya would get up and her eyes would turn yellow. I'll say she wouldn't. I'll say she would just knock him out. She would instant transmission behind him and grab him and just. He wouldn't flip. Shinso, like, Midoriya wouldn't flip Shinso, like, in canon. She would just teleport him, grab him, teleport him, and then basically to the edge and just basically tap him. Not using any of her ki, just a normal human tap and he would fall over. Midoriya is the winner. Now, Midoriya would, we would go to where Uraraka is about to fight Bakugo. Midoriya would be, like, hyping her up, being like, you got this. Basically, like, girl talk. You got this, girl. You got this, Uraraka. You could beat him. Just remember, you don't rely only on your quirk. You can do this. Okay. And basically, she would still get knocked out, but she would try harder. She would basically lose her gravity and lose her. I'll say she would lose her feet, basically, and float, and then she would still get knocked out, but she would try harder. Midoriya would be like, no! Basically, Midoriya would go to her and be like, you did great, Uraraka. You just need to train your body, not your quirk, and your quirk more. She would thank her, Midoriya. Next would be Midoriya versus Todoroki, and, I could do a ship in this if you would like. I could do, Bakugo, Todoroki, anyone. I can even use, I'll say my hero characters. Midoriya would start walking to the resting room, and she, basically the chill room, like, where Bakugo was, and, she would encounter Endeavor. Endeavor would try to tell her that, what a sorry little thing like you. If I were you, my Todoroki, if he used his fire on you, he would beat you. And Midoriya would explain that even if he did use that, it's not your quirk, it's his. And, eventually she would encounter, the way she's using her power would basically kind of do shockwave. I'll say, no. She didn't talk with Todoroki. You know how, are you secretly All Might's love child? Basically that wouldn't happen, but still, she would go and get ready to fight Todoroki. She would tell Todoroki, she's not going to, Todoroki's tell her, why ain't you going to lose your yellow form, or your red form, your glowy form. And she explained that if I ain't going to use my full power if you don't use your full power. And he would explain, oh, my father's, gosh darn, fire, my father's fire, I ain't losing it. And she would explain that it's not his quirk. If it was his quirk, he would make you use it already. This is your quirk. It's basically your ice. You can control it and you can use it at will. So it's technically it is your quirk. And he would be like, start going on fire, and he'd be, thank you, Midoriya. So in this one, I'll say Midoriya is Midoriya's last name, and my hero, it basically you go by your last name. But in this one, I'll say Midoriya's last name is Zuku, but she goes by Midoriya. Her real name is Sun Midoriya. She would decide to use, I would say she would use God. She would go God, and her aura would basically sparkles and crap, and she would use, basically she would try dodging the flames. She would use a God bend, one of her father's moves. Her own move, because her father hasn't done it yet. Basically using her ki and holding him in place. He would try to fight it. He would try losing his flames. Now, he can lose it, it's just, he can't move. And she would explain that just because you're losing your quirk doesn't mean you're going to beat me. You haven't trained that quirk, your flames, in all your life. She would basically hop back and basically do what Goku did to Broly and DBS. She would use the power ball, basically that beam Goku did, hop and then blast Broly. The red, I'll call it the God blast. She would use the God blast and basically go up. Now she would have to put her power level down because her reason God was 15. She has to hold back because if she was to lose all her power, she could possibly kill Todoroki. She would hop and use a God blast and make him fall out. She would, basically just walk out, still in her God form, power back down, and go and grab his hand. Basically, like how you pick someone up if they failed. And she would explain, are you alright, Todoroki? And he would say, yeah, thanks. She would take him to Recovery Girl. She would go with him to Recovery Girl. Recovery Girl would grab him and go after he got up. So we'll go to the final fight. Midoriya versus Bakugo. And Bakugo would explain, oh, I know you're holding back. Why don't you use your full power? Midoriya would say, okay, let's go full power at Kachan. Well, Bakugo, basically, but still, I'll say Bakugo. Let's go, Bakugo. her hair would start, spiking up, and her aura would turn blue, and, Super Saiyan blue. She would let Bakugo get, free hits, and, he would come and hit her. Basically, pulverizing her. She's letting him hit her nonstop, and she would stop him, and blood would go down her lip and be like, is that really all you got? I'm not even using my full power. I'm using like about 2% of my power. They're like 2%. And she would say, yeah. It's not worth being in this form. She would power back down into her. I'll say she would do what God Goku did, powered all back down to Super Saiyan. And she's like, all I need is this form. Man, she would try to do what Ultra Instinct Goku does, and she would hop, Kamehameha, instant transmission behind him, I'll say that, and blast him out. She would win. Now, she would get that first place medal, Bakugo would get second, and Todoroki would be third. So, this is the end of part 2. And, the next arc would be I forgot, it'd basically be who you're picking to go to an agency, and, y'all can vote who she goes to. She can go to anyone like Endeavor, Gran Torino, still, anywhere. This is the end of part 2, man. Like I said, y'all can pick, should she get a ship, should she get Bakugo or someone, and who should have one for all in this. Because All Might still needs to pass it down. He hasn't passed it down yet. So, see ya.